Frank Warren, the founder of the Post-Secret Project, started collecting secrets by handing out self-addressed postcards back in 2004. He says the secrets that he receives reflect the full spectrum of complicated issues that many of us struggle with every day. Intimacy, trust, meaning, humor, and desire. Don't tick off your barista. Everyone has secrets. Some may be taboo, and others may be too difficult to share. Some are silly and others are serious. Some reflect hurts of the past, and some hold our truest identities. Some give us an advantage over others, while some may just be embarrassing. We all have secrets. Can you read this one? Are you able to read it? One of these faces is the father of my child. He pays me a lot of money to keep it quiet. If some of our secrets were revealed, we may believe we would be looked upon poorly by others, maybe even excluded from our current social circles. Right? And yet our secrets, when revealed, may have a way of freeing us to live into our identity, accept ourselves for who we are, and connect us to our deepest humanity, and even to others we have yet to meet. The people Jesus encountered in Galilee, where he healed many and cast out unclean spirits and demons, according to Mark's story, by necessity, those very people had to have lived their lives in secret. As we have discovered before, the first century world was filled with superstitions and supernaturalism. Unexplainable phenomena such as mental and physical illnesses were commonly attributed to being cursed or possessed by demons and unclean spirits. Lacking the methods of science and technology, our forebears in the faith relied on an ancient understanding of the universe, carried on from generation to generation through myths, legends, and stories. And as we have said, these ailments were often suspiciously treated as contagious, requiring the quarantining of the sick in body and mind. No connection with family and friends or neighbors. No connection for employment or commerce and services in the community. Think of the old TB hospitals in our history, or even that young children are not allowed to visit in the hospitals today in our nation in many communities because of the epidemic of the flu. It was as if the ill person, and sometimes their whole family, were dead to the rest of society. Jesus, the storyteller, says, having called Andrew and Simon, James and John to be disciples, got word that Simon's mother-in-law was sick. If she was without a husband or a son to provide for her, she was as good as dead. The situation must have been dire for Jesus to intervene. She had a fever, a clear sign in those days that a person was likely dying. Likely dying. We are told that Jesus came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her and she began to serve them. First, only healers touch people with fevers. Only healers in that day, especially, touch people with fevers. And so we know from earlier accounts and here in this story, our man of mystery is definitely a healer. It's a great risk, not only of contracting the disease, but of becoming unclean by Jewish law. meaning no access to the temple, no access to the synagogue, or even to the rest of the community itself. Risky move besides, Jesus touches her hand. Or as another possible translation of the raised is raised up, and the fever left her. She was as good as dead, remember? Even her son-in-law, Peter, Simon Peter, was about to abandon her, running off after Jesus like he was. The fever was enough to disconnect her from her entire world. People didn't come back from many fevers in those days. No 30-day course of antibiotics to treat it with. No Tamiflu to shorten the duration. Perhaps the secret of her illness had not gotten loose yet in the community. No instant messaging or Facebook posts or tweets spreading the word about her communicable disease. I have to tell you, even for somebody who's younger than some of you, it is shocking the personal medical information people will post online. Perhaps she had not been ostracized from the community just yet. Her daughters and servants were keeping things quiet. That is until that Jesus guy walked into town. We don't have to think very hard to come up with a list of people in our own community circles who are socially forced to live lives of secrecy. Stigma and misinformation still plague those who suffer with HIV/AIDS, those who struggle with addictions, those with eating disorders and depression, those with physical abilities that are different or named disabled in some way. While progress may have been made through laws such as the Americans with Disabilities Act requiring better access to public spaces, like ramps at the ends of sidewalks so that wheelchairs and walkers and people with canes can have better access. That those laws have gained better access for people with differing abilities for employment and educational and health and human services in our world that they may have once been turned away from. With all of that, too many of us still hold on to old suspicions, myths, and legends from days gone by that misinform our understanding and our value of others. We continue to mock and entertain ourselves with another person's suffering. We continue to ostracize people socially by removing them from our social circles. Oh, don't invite so-and-so. I know he's family. I know. I know he's your brother. But you know he's got ADHD. He makes that funny noise every once in a while. Our friends are going to be like, who's that? What's that? He's going to kill the party. I know he's your brother. But really, dear. And still others without diseases or differing abilities also find themselves dead to the world because of their true identity. I'm thinking here of the LGBT community and gender-neutral or non-conforming folks in our world. And even those who try to hide from their ethnic or racial identity for fear of losing a job, an educational opportunity, or even the opportunity to live in our community. All of which are very real and happening in our midst every single day. The fever was gone. says the storyteller. Poof, vanished. We don't know how, but that's not the focus of the story anyhow. We're simply told he raised her up. She began to serve them. We're not told that her faith healed her. We're not told she even believed Jesus was the Messiah. All we are told is she was healed and began to serve. Healing in the community of Simon's mother-in-law was much more than feeling better. It was a miracle. Being well was a good thing, but healing was a miracle. Healing meant that she was restored to her entire community. That she was no longer as good as dead. She was alive again. She's no longer a pariah, a germ, a curse. She's fully alive. She's fully acceptable as mother again, as sister again, as servant once more. She's experienced a resurrection from certain death at the hand of the one who came to offer resurrection to new life here, right here, and for eternity. In truth, she experienced salvation in its completeness, in its wholeness. For salvation is not an individual act of God, but a communal act of God's love and grace. Salvation is not an individual me-you act of God. Resurrection is not an individual act of God for you and for me and for you. It's a communal act of God's love and grace for the whole entire world. The woman in the story was restored to wholeness, and thus the community that she lived in was made whole again, graced by her resurrection from this illness, her healing, that she may re-enter and serve once again in the community. By raising her up, Jesus allowed her to be herself again, who she was, and to be included in table fellowship and beyond. Afterwards, the storyteller says, the whole city was gathered around the door, and he cured many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons, and he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him. They knew him. He went out to pray, and very early the next day left to go to proclaim the good news of God's love and grace everywhere. His days in secret were drawing to a close very quickly. We all have secrets. Some may keep us from serving the Lord as a fully devoted disciple. What secrets are holding you back from giving yourself fully to Jesus? Follow the one who wants to make you and all of us whole again. My friends, there are no surprising secrets before God. The creator of the universe has seen it all. You've seen the farmers' insurance commercials, right? Right? We know some things, so we've seen a few things, right? The creator of the universe has seen it all. There are no secrets before God. And despite that, despite the incredible mess we are capable of making of ourselves and for others, God desires to love you. You, just as you are, and even me, right here and right now.